Ils pensaient avoir trouvé la cible parfaite. Nous sommes le 22 mars 2025, quelque part au-dessus de la mer Rouge. Le ciel est clair, la visibilité presque parfaite, et un F-16 Fighting Falcon de l'US Air Force patrouille en routine. Altitude standard, rien d'inhabituel. Puis, bip. Une alerte s'allume sur l'affichage tête haute. Verrouillage radar, un point. Puis un autre. Tir de missile détecté. Break, break, break. Le pilote tire brutalement sur le manche. Ses réflexes prennent le relais. Le F-16 vire sec sur la droite. Les leurs fusent. Contre-mesure déployée. Une signature thermique fend l'air. Un missile infrarouge SIAD, tiré depuis un territoire contrôlé par les Houthis au Yémen. Rapide, silencieux, conçu pour tuer. Le chasseur plonge, moteur hurlant. Plus bas, une équipe de guerre électronique brouille l'espace électromagnétique. Plus haut, un E-2D Hawkeye prend la surveillance depuis le pont de l'USS Eisenhower. Les opérateurs suivent tout en temps réel. Le missile corrige sa trajectoire. Il accroche la chaleur des réacteurs. 30 secondes avant impact. Le pilote encaisse une manœuvre à 9G. L'avion gémit sous la contrainte. « Fox 3 défensif !» crie-t-il à la radio. Un dernier leurre s'allume, brillant, brûlant, trompeur. Le missile explose dans le vide. Trop loin. L'avion est sauf. Mais la vraie question n'est pas comment les Houthis ont eu un tel missile. La question c'est que se passe-t-il quand on tire et qu'on rate? Car ce n'était pas un simple duel, c'était un piège.
Because this wasn't just a dogfight, this was bait. The missile didn't just come out of nowhere. For weeks, the Red Sea had been heating up, figuratively and literally. Commercial tankers rerouted, U.S. destroyers crisscrossing the waves, and the Houthi forces getting bold. Real bold. This wasn't the first time they tried something like this either. Just a few days earlier, a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone was shot down off the coast of Yemen. It didn't even get a chance to react. The Houthis claimed it on Telegram within minutes, posting shaky footage of flaming wreckage tumbling into the sea like a trophy. That move? That didn't go unanswered either, but it emboldened them. And that's when they made the next mistake, thinking a drone and a fighter jet were the same kind of prey. The US had already issued warnings. Carrier strike groups had shifted formation. Aegis destroyers were repositioned. But the Houthis, backed by Iranian tech and training, believed that they could keep escalating without real consequence. So when an American F-16 flew into their radar net, they fired. Only this time, the jet fired back. You see, that F-16 wasn't just randomly patrolling. It was part of a broader ISR net, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, designed to sniff out missile activity along the Yemeni coast. And what that pilot didn't know at that moment was that he was the final thread in a very dangerous game of bait and trap. Because in recent weeks, the Pentagon had authorized a shift in posture. No more waiting. If a radar spiked on the wrong aircraft, it was now considered hostile. If a launch occurred, retaliation would be automatic. The rules of engagement had changed. Quietly, formally. And in this case, the Houthi launcher had made the ultimate mistake. It lit up long enough to be seen, fired once, and stayed in place just a few minutes too long. That would be its last mistake. Because back aboard the USS Eisenhower, the pilot's call wasn't just received, it was recorded, analyzed, and turned into targeting data. Live feed, thermal signature, missile trajectory, GPS lock. The retaliation clock had already started ticking. At 28,000 feet, the F-16 was still burning west, hugging the edge of Yemeni airspace. The pilot had barely recovered from the evasive maneuver when his RWR, or radar warning receiver, lit up again. New contact, different angle. The first missile had missed, but there was more. This time it wasn't just one signal, it was a burst. Multiple radar locks, staggered and fast. The pilot's AN/ALR-56M system screamed in his headset. Threat, SA-6, lock. An SA-6? Classic Cold War era Soviet SAM. But the Houthis had been seen using Iranian copies of the same tech. Syad-class systems, upgraded with better seekers and mobile launchers. Slow to set up, even slower to hide. But when active, they were deadly. And they were locked on. The pilot's left hand gripped the throttle, afterburners engaged. His right hand toggled the countermeasure system, prepping for another flare dump. Behind him, the exhaust glowed white-hot against the cool desert night. A perfect infrared target for any heat-seeking warhead. Viper 3 defensive, multiple locks, repeat, multiple launch points, request support. Overhead, a Growler from VAQ-140, the Patriots, was already jamming. Bursts of electromagnetic disruption poured into the air like invisible smoke, scrambling Houthi radar systems. It gave that F-16 a sliver of time. He dipped the nose and pushed it into a hard dive. The G's pinned him to a seat. Blood drained, vision tunneled, but he held the vector. High speed, low drag evasive. Flares burst in waves, like fireworks behind a ghost. The pilot banked again, then yanked the jet into a barrel roll at 700 knots, just in time. One of the incoming Syads missed by maybe 200 feet, close enough to rattle the canopy. But that was it. That was their chance. Because what the Houthis didn't know was that they were being watched the entire time, from way high above at nearly 60,000 feet. A Navy MQ-4C Triton drone had been circling in wide ISR loops. It wasn't armed, but it didn't need to be. Its job was eyes. And its eyes saw everything. Thermal spikes on the ground, electronic pulses, precise coordinates, all streamed back in real time to CENTCOM and, more importantly, to the Combat Information Center aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. The engagement had lasted less than 2 minutes, but the fallout would take hours to clean up. When the pilot returned to a holding pattern above the Red Sea, 2 more aircraft joined the airspace. First, a second F-16 from the 421st Fighter Squadron pulled up on its wing, scanning for fresh threats. Then came the call from command. Engagement confirmed, target data locked, hold position, birds en route. Translation: strike package inbound. But even before the jets launched, the Navy wasn't wasting time. Deep in the belly of an Arleigh-Burke-class destroyer sailing nearby, VLS cells were opening. VLS? Vertical Launch Systems. Inside, Tomahawk cruise missiles, precision-guided, long-range, and ready for immediate launch. The launch order came in less than 5 minutes after the missile threat ended. Target Alpha, Fire 1, confirmed trajectory. 1 missile, then 2, then 4, each screaming up into the night sky. Silent afterburn, curving east towards the Yemeni coast. And this was just the start. On deck of the USS Truman, it was already spinning up for a second phase, air power. Pilots were being briefed, weapons loaded, jets fueled. This wasn't improvisation, it was playbook stuff. The moment that missile launched, the response was already in motion. The missile had failed, but its data had succeeded.
Depuis des semaines, la mer Rouge s'échauffe. Tankers commerciaux déroutés. Destroyers US sillonnant les flots. Les Houthis, plus audacieux que jamais. Quelques jours plus tôt, un drone MQ-9 Reaper avait été abattu au large du Yémen. Les Houthis avaient revendiqué l'exploit sur Telegram, exhibant les flammes comme un trophée. Mais confondre un drone avec un chasseur était une erreur fatale. Car les règles du jeu avaient changé. Discrètement, mais fermement. Désormais, tout radar hostile, tout tir de missile entraînait une riposte automatique. Et ce soir-là, le lanceur Houthi commet sa dernière erreur. Trop lent à se cacher, trop long à rester en place. Car du pont de l'USS Eisenhower, les données du pilote deviennent ciblage en direct. Signature thermique, trajectoire, coordonnées GPS. Le compte à rebours de la riposte a commencé. À 28 000 pieds, le F-16 reprend son cap, mais son détecteur d'alerte s'illumine de nouveau. Nouveau verrouillage. Cette fois, un SA-6. Soviétique d'origine, mais modifié par l'Iran. Plusieurs signaux, plusieurs tirs. Le pilote enclenche la post-combustion. Les contre-mesures s'activent. Derrière lui, les gaz brûlants offrent une cible parfaite. Viper 3 défensif. Multiples menaces. Demande appui. Dans le ciel, un EA-18G Growler crache ses ondes. Les radars Houthis se brouillent. Le F-16 plonge en piqué serré, son corps écrasé par les jets. La vision se rétrécit, mais il tient. Les leurs jaillissent. Un missile passe à moins de 200 mètres. Assez proche pour secouer la verrière. Mais trop tard, l'œil américain voyait tout. À 60 000 pieds, un drone MQ-4C Triton surveille la scène. Non armé, mais tout puissant par sa vision. Chaque émission, chaque flash thermique, tout est enregistré. et transmis, en direct, à l'Eisenhower.
And the message was clear. If you launch at a US jet, you better pray it hits, because if it doesn't, the next thing coming isn't another missile, it's everything. They say modern war is fast, but this was surgical. The moment the F-16's data feed locked into that missile trail before it even dodged the blast, the US Navy already had what it needed. Timestamps, telemetry, launch vector, GPS coordinates, and thermal spike signatures. The strike group didn't just see it happen, they saw where it happened. And that changed everything. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard the USS Eisenhower, the vibe shifted from defensive posture to offensive readiness. No shouting, no scrambling, just crisp voices calling out status reports and targeting locks. Telemetry confirmed. Launch grid locked. Target Alpha hot. The Eisenhower's commanding officer didn't even hesitate. One phrase was all it took. Package Bravo, execute. And with that, the retaliation protocol kicked in. What is Package Bravo? Well, in Navy terms, Package Bravo isn't a slap on the wrist. It's a hammer to the head. It's the name for a multi-domain strike sequence involving cruise missiles, airstrikes, and coordinated EW or electronic warfare. The targets are any confirmed defensive systems that fires on US aircraft or dares to lock on. And the Houthis had just triggered it. And the plan unfolded in layers. From the unarly Berg-class destroyer about 100 miles off the Yemeni coast, VLS cells began to open up like mechanical flowers. These are 25-foot vertical tubes packed with Tomahawk missiles, long-range, GPS-guided, and brutally accurate. They don't need pilots, they don't even need confirmation. They just need a target. And now they had several. 4 Tomahawks launched in sequence. Not in a rush, no fireworks, just a quiet thrust and vanishing arcs. Missile Site Alpha, confirmed Syad launcher, Target 1. Mobile radar vehicle, Target 2. Suspected C2, command and control hub, near Ras Isa, Target 3. Ammo storage depot picked up via MQ-4C thermal scan, Target 4. Each one plotted, programmed, and en route within 5 minutes. Meanwhile, 70 miles away aboard the USS Truman, the flight deck was coming alive. Steam hissed across the catapults, red shirts locked in munitions, GBU-38 JDAMs and AGM-88 harms, while green shirts refueled jets with machine-like precision. Yellow shirts waved FA-18 Super Hornets into position. The smell of jet fuel and salt air hit like adrenaline. Above it all, an E-2D Hawkeye had already launched, spinning its radar dish.
L'engagement aura duré moins de 2 minutes. La réponse, elle, se prépare en heures et en couches. Déjà, les silos d'un destroyer s'ouvrent. Tomahawk en batterie. Ordre donné, Fire 1, un missile, 2, 4. Puis, depuis l'USS Truman, la deuxième vague décolle. Hawkeye en couverture. Growlers en brouillage. Et les Super Hornets armés de bombes guidées et de missiles anti-radar. Les frappes arrivent en séquence. Tomahawk sur le site de lancement. Détruit. Le radar mobile, pulvérisé. Le poste de commandement camouflé. Effondré sous 2 impacts directs. Le dépôt de munitions, un feu d'artifice. Dans le ciel, les Hornets repartent légers. Pas de perte, pas d'alerte. Seulement de la fumée et du silence. Pendant ce temps, les Growlers bloquent toutes les fréquences. Les Houthis ne peuvent plus communiquer. Plus de radar, plus de consignes. Seulement le chaos. Le message est si clair. Tirez sur un avion américain et vous n'obtenez pas une riposte symbolique. Vous déclenchez une machine de guerre coordonnée, multidomaine, implacable. Les Houthis ont perdu plus que des missiles. Ils ont perdu la face. Leur audace a révélé leur position. Et les États-Unis ont écrasé cette audace en quelques minutes. Désormais, chaque opérateur radar Houthi hésitera avant d'appuyer sur un bouton. Chaque allié qui regarde comprend la leçon. Car ce soir-là, une seule tentative ratée a déclenché Package Bravo. La doctrine américaine où riposte signifie annihilation. La mer Rouge redevient silencieuse. Mais cette fois, ce silence est une victoire. Et maintenant, je vous pose la question. Si vous aviez été aux commandes cette nuit-là, vous seriez-vous arrêté après la neutralisation du lanceur ou auriez-vous rasé toute la côte? Soyez stratégique. Donnez votre avis dans les commentaires. Si cette histoire vous a donné des frissons, de la clarté, ou simplement plus de respect pour la précision de la guerre moderne, soutenez la chaîne. Abonnez-vous, activez la cloche et rejoignez notre flotte pour plus de récits réels venus du terrain. Restez prudents, restez affûtés. Et souvenez-vous, un seul missile peut déclencher une guerre, mais c'est la riposte qui y met fin.
Scrambled early warning radars and spoofed their detection systems into seeing ghost fleets. In other words, while the Houthis tried to figure out what hit them, they couldn't even talk about it. No comms, no signals, just fear, smoke, and blank screens. And that was that. They fired at a fighter jet. They got a war machine in return. The Houthis, and by extension their Iranian sponsors, learned a brutal lesson. You might hit a slow drone with a lucky shot, but when you try the same move on a fully loaded F-16 or F-18, the response won't be another drone. It will be a synchronized multi-layered counterstrike that leaves nothing standing. And that matters. Because warfare isn't just about weapons, it's about perception. The Houthis lost equipment, but more importantly, they lost face. They showed their hand and the US didn't just slap it away. It crushed it with precision and steel and electromagnetic fury. Now, every Houthi radar operator will think twice before flipping the switch. Because they'll have to ask, is this the one that gets me vaporized? Even though the US didn't issue a single press release, the world got the message. Satellite intel leaked, analysts picked up the patterns, news cycles caught whispers. And every military power watching, China, Russia, Iran, took notes. The takeaway? You don't mess with US air power unless you're ready to play a different game. One where the US doesn't just react, it redefines the battlefield mid-conflict. Post-strike, carrier air wing shifted into full combat air patrol mode. That means at least 2 armed jets in the air 24/7. Circling, scanning, ready to respond within seconds. The Houthis thought they could fire at an American fighter jet and get away with it. They were wrong. Dead wrong. They didn't just lose a missile, they lost a playbook. They lost assets. And most importantly, they lost momentum. But here's the question I want to throw to you. If you were in command that night, would you have stopped after neutralizing the launcher or gone further and wiped out every radar site along the coast? Be honest. Be strategic. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We will read every single one. And while you're there, if this video gave you chills, clarity, or just a deeper respect for the precision of modern warfare, do us a favor. Like the video so we know you're locked in. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the next incident before it even hits the headlines. And hit the notification bell so you're the first in when the next mission drops. But if you want to go one step further and support the channel directly, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority replies, and help us bring more real naval stories to the surface. Click join on our channel page and step aboard. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, one missile can start a war, but the response ends it. Thanks for watching.